Let's bow our heads. We are gathered here today to mark the beginning of a new school year. For members of the university faculty and staff, this moment feels familiar and worn, yet experience tells us that no year is like the last, and each year holds unique challenges and self-discoveries. For the students here today, the road ahead is completely new, full of mystery, promise, and some anxiety. And for their parents and family members, this moment is the culmination of years of work and hope, a day to take pride in and to bless with your gratitude, yet at the same time, it is also a hard day as you learn to let go. And so we all stand on the threshold of an unknown future. There will be for all of us this year both joyful times and times of sorrow, moments of frustration and moments of learning and accomplishment. There will be days so tough ahead that we will be able to face them alone, and days so wonderful that it would be tragic to have no one with which to share them. And so we pray this morning that no person sitting in this room today will travel this road alone. May these students forge friendships strong and true. May these professors and staff build strong collegial ties in their work. May these parents and family members trust in the solidity of the connections they have nurtured over the years with their children. May we sense a guiding, compassionate presence with us every moment of every day in the year ahead, so that we will all come to the end of this year stronger people, more compassionate people, people of wisdom and courage and peace. Amen.
Please be seated. Welcome to all of you, families, friends, faculty, staff, and especially our incoming students composing the class of 23 and our new transfer students. So your journey begins. This is one of the momentous occasions that we look forward to at our university. It signals the renewal and recommitment to our mission, vision, and values. We similarly look forward to when we'll be in this same place for your commencement, and then later on when you come back as alums for reunion. When we ask our alumni, half my time is spent on the road with graduates of this institution, and one of the questions always ask them, what do they treasure the most about their journey beyond our university? And what they treasure most about our university. And the response to the latter question is, somebody took an interest in me and changed my life for the better. A faculty, staff member in particular. So I'd like the members of the platform party, I'm going to call out their names individually. I can attest to their commitment to the student experience, to making a difference in your lives. They symbolize behind me, and then the faculty and staff in front of me, our commitment to your transformational experience. So hold your applause until I introduce the members of our leadership team sitting now behind me, and ask them individually to stand. Jason Amor, Vice President, University Advancement. Jay Serio, Dean of Graduate and External Programs. Lori DeMott, Interfaith Advisor and Pastor of Union University Church. Brian Dalton, Vice President of Enrollment Management. Beth Ann Doby, our Provost and Vice President for Academic Affairs. Gerard Edizal, the Dean of the School of Art and Design. Juliana Gray, Professor of English and Director of our Honors Program. Kim Geyer, Vice President of Student. Delray Honeycutt, Dean of Students. Bradley Keogh, Student Senate President. Dr. Mark Lewis, the Dean of our College of Business. Javina Lloyd, Vice President for Business and Finance. Pontus Nicholson, our Registrar. Dr. Stephen Pilgrim, Professor of Material Science and Engineering, standing in today for our Dean of the Inamori School of Engineering, Dr. Gabriel Gausted, who's at a conference in South Korea. Patricia St. George, Partner Management Consulting She'll be our featured speaker today. U.S. Department of Defense, featured speaker, management consulting with KPMG, and a member of our Board of Trustees. Brian Sullivan, Dean of Libraries, and David Toot, our Dean of the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences. Please join me in a round of applause for them. Now you may be seated. I'd next like to welcome up our Student Senate President. He's a rising junior, a member of the class of 2021, bicontinental in roots, both in the UK and the United States, bicoastal in the United States, nowadays hails from Horseheads. He's majoring in mathematics and physics, concentration in astronomy. He works multiple jobs on campus, physics grader, library assistant, student affairs worker. He's an advocate on your behalf. In addition to our faculty, staff, what alums remember at times, it was a fellow student that made a difference and changed my life for the better. So without further ado, Bradley Keough, our Student Senate President.
Thank you, President Zupan, and good afternoon, incoming students of 2023. My name is Bradley, and I'm the President of the Student Senate here at Alfred. I remember my first day, sitting exactly where you are, nervous, yet optimistic. It was my first time truly living away from home. I had just moved from England and hadn't even been on campus. I had literally no idea what to expect. I had a lot of support from family and friends, and they, along with faculty and staff, encouraged me to get myself out there, make friends, and get to know my new home. And that's exactly what I did. I went to the team trivia night, where I made friends that I'm still close with today. So joined clubs, and in doing so, got to leave the university and go hiking in beautiful places around our already stunning campus. Upon arriving on Monday, I was instantly put back into the embrace of Alfred's community, with hellos to and from friends and staff, as well as continuing to meet new people. To help make this friend-making and community building easier, Alfred has a common ground experience that all first-year and transfer students take. This program is facilitated by members of the university's faculty and staff. It's a series of discussions among smaller groups of students, focusing on a variety of social justice issues. There will be assigned media to read and watch, and it's a place to open up and express yourself with your peers. It's an opportunity to get to know people from a mixture of backgrounds with diverse perspectives, as well as helping you develop ways to appreciate and talk to each other. I'd also like to mention APEX. APEX is Alfred's applied and experiential learning program. This program allows juniors to apply for a grant of $1,000. I'm mentioning this to you now so that you get thinking about what you might want to do so that you're in the best possible position to apply when you become eligible. This money can be put towards research opportunities or work experience. This helps with career decision making and increases your opportunities after graduation. APEX has funding for travel, accommodation, or living needs associated with your internship. A few recent examples: a senior wanting to go down an athletic and medical path got an internship on strength and conditioning training focusing on medicine. A junior sought out an internship in structural and mechanical engineering in Connecticut, and a senior political science major even got a congressional internship shadowing a politician in DC. There is something out there for everyone. To finish, the best advice I can give you all is to get yourselves out there, push the boundaries of your comfort zone, and dare to try something new. Whether it's joining a club, putting yourself out there, saying hello to someone you don't already know, or going to an event you normally wouldn't think you'd find yourself at. Take advantage of all that Alfred has to offer. This is your time to define who you are. I hope you have a fantastic first year. Thank you, and Fiat Lux.
Thank you, Bradley. Would next like to introduce an alumna from our class of 1989, Bachelor of Science cum laude in accounting, and a recent addition to our Board of Trustees. She began with KPMG in 1989 and was promoted to partner in 2003. She's the management consulting partner in charge of KPMG's federal advisory practice, so overseeing all the work they do with the federal government, with defense contractors, some major responsibilities. She has a very busy schedule, known for her hard work. She just flew in last night from Arkansas on a major project, flies out later tonight to another major project. She's a member of the Association of Government Accountants, the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants, the New York State Society of Certified Public Accountants, and the American Society of Military Controllers. She and her husband, Cornelius Southall, have 3 children and reside in Alexandria, Virginia. She started off as an auditor and was very good at it, but burned out. And one of her knacks has been acquiring mentors, a personal advisory board. And certain mentors in that stage played a key role in seeing possibilities that awaited for her in management consulting. She also has taught us about an acronym, BLUF, bottom line up front. In the academic world, we typically bury the lead. We start off with the interesting problem we want to study in an article or in a research project. Then there's the hypothesis, then the data, then the methodology, then the results, and then the conclusion. In her management consulting world, and she argues that this lesson applies broadly, don't bury the lead. Be upfront about what the key things you want to tell your audience. I learned that the hard way when I was starting college. We were required to take a reading test and then an exam that followed. It was designed for all of us to fail because there was not enough time allotted. And then a tip to pass along from that test and failure was that they taught us, had we read the opening paragraph and the closing paragraph, we would have aced the exam. It's something I've taken with me, even nowadays deciding what books to read. I read the opening chapter and the closing chapter and decide whether I want to read the rest of the book. Plus, it helps frame the book or the article. So without further ado, our trustee and BLUF, Patty St. George.
Well, I'm really, really pleased to be here, and he's not kidding. I live my life by this term BLUF, bottom line up front, and I'm going to talk a little bit about my BLUF right now up front with you, and then give you some feedback after that as far as why I'm saying what I'm saying. So as I stand here before you today, I graduated 30 years ago this year. So in June or May, I was walking off the stage as a graduate of Alfred University. So this is my 30th anniversary, which is really cool. And yeah, so it's really awesome. So, when I sit here looking at all of you and your first, year coming into Alfred University, I reflect back and go, wow, what would I have done differently? Knowing what I know now, after 30 years, leaving campus, going out into the world, working in 3 different cities, across multiple areas, practices, industries, and looking back and saying, God, I wish someone had told me all these different things that I now know. And I look at all of you sitting, it's really someone's responsibility to continue to reinforce what I call the lessons that I really wish someone had told me. And I've learned them now, and I really try to help the folks that work for me that are coming right out of college and try to express some of these, what I call life lessons that will pay dividends. And you may sit here right now, not having been in the workforce, entering into your college years and saying, I have no idea what she's talking about. But some of these things are really fundamental things. And I would venture to say 20 years down the road, I'm hoping you would look back from this day and say, oh yeah, I remember what she said, that one thing she said, oh yeah, yep, exactly. So my bluff that I would say to you is, you have an awesome opportunity here. And I would say everything you do matters. Think about everything you do, your internet presence, your how you treat others, what's your reputation, what you're known for. Everything matters. And remember that, because all you have at the end of the day is your reputation. So what you do and how you treat people are going to be critical. And I wish someone had told me that, because I would have probably been nicer to some people along the way. Make every day count. And I mean, really, it's in my teams all the time. Make every day count. Once that day leaves you, you never get it back. So what'd you do with it? Was it something meaningful? Did you grow? Did you do something nice for someone? Did you learn something new? Because once that day's gone, you never get it back. And you have 4 years here, or 5, depending on if you're getting a master's or PhD, et cetera. What are you going to do with every single day that you're here? And are you going to look back from the day before and say, oh, I slept in till 2 o'clock in the afternoon and didn't do much? I mean, I did that my fair share, but really, how do you make every day count? Take advantage of everything that you can in college. I really regret, there's so many things that I look back that I did not take classes in that I should have, or would have liked to, learned about. Things, extracurricular, just so many things. And I regret it now, because once you leave and you start working, it becomes much harder to be able to take advantage of many of the things that are at your fingertips here. And they're the types of things that you may not get opportunity and get exposed to when you're working 40, 50 hours a week and you're really moving on to the next phase of your life. And I think one of the other points that one of the folks is view every experience, whether it's good or bad, as an opportunity to learn. And what I would tell you is that I learned the most throughout the last 30 years, the 4 years of college and beyond, from some of doing the most difficult, crappy things that I had to deal with. And I wanted to quit. I wanted to quit my job. I wanted to quit what I was doing, the project I was on. I go home to talk to my husband, I'm going to quit this stuff. This stinks. This is really hard. This is not for me. And I decided to stick it through. And I look back now on those experiences and I say, you know what? I tried it. I know more than I knew before, and I'm better at what I do today because of the painful, difficult, challenging things that I had to do. So I would tell you, view every experience, whether it's hard or not, as an opportunity to learn. And it really is. And another thing is value the gift of education. Someone once said to me a long time ago, it's the one thing nobody can take away from you. So think about it. You can lose your job, you can lose a loved one, but the one thing you'll never lose is once you have your education, nobody can take that away from you, and that's a gift. So take advantage of the gift. I mean, if I was sitting in your shoes, I would have done so many things so differently. And the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know. So I feel I feel more ignorant now than I did when I was 18 years old, because I've realized how little I do know, even though I've learned a lot over the 30 years. And I would say the one thing that I really do wish people told me when I was sitting in your shoes is how important relationships are in everything you're going to do, whether you're a teacher, you're a sports management person working with a team, whether you're a PhD professor, whether you're a scientist. Everything you do from this day forward is working with people, for people, serving people, people. And the value of relationships makes what you do easier or better in the long run. And I didn't understand that when I was sitting in your shoes, the importance of relationships, the teachers I had, the friends I had, the coworkers I had, and how at the end of the day, people like to work and involve themselves with people they trust. You think about who you trust the most. You think about who you know in this room, probably not a lot of people. The people you have built relationships with, and this will be forever in your life, are based upon the trusting relationships that you're going to make and nurture and keep for the rest of your career. So looking back, I can't emphasize enough, and I'm speaking from the heart because I sat where you sat, and I know where you're at because I was there. I was from a small town in upstate New York. Nobody before me had gone to college. I was first generation college. I didn't know what I was doing. No guidance counselor, no nothing. I was just 18 years old, showing up. I'll figure it out as I go. And so I'm from a perspective of not knowing and not having someone who was able to give me counseling and guidance right when I started. I really how important trying things are among the rich array of curricular and extracurricular offerings that there are here at Alfred University. And then also take advantage of opportunities on and off campus that Apex grants, as the speaker before us was talking about, makes possible. There's two ways to look at your education. And do you want to get out of here and get a job? Or do you want to get out of here and build a career? And I think you have to make that decision for yourself, as far as if you're looking for a career that has meaning and purpose, or you just want to be able to get a paycheck. So I think that's up to every individual. But in order to, college is just the beginning and really sets you up for the future. And exposing yourself to as many diverse courses, programs, people that look like you or don't look like you, will directly influence the way that you're going to approach your work and career and life and the people relationships for the rest of your life. So the bottom line is that you have choices right now, first day, going into your first year, and you're blessed. I mean, if you think about it, you're blessed sitting here to be here at this moment embarking on an awesome phase of the next journey of your life. And having a 17-year-old son of my own and having conversations about the next chapters in one's life, and I get the role and yeah, mom, and all of that. I can appreciate many of you sitting here going, yeah, I'll figure it out as I go. But when you get to be my age, you'll say, God, I wish someone had told me. I wish I had someone in my corner. And there's no way to articulate that other than try to impress upon you, those of us who are now long gone and gotten old, what we would have liked to have had. So make the most of it. What's unique about Alfred is the diversity of the programs and the students and the smaller size, which gives you an opportunity to be more intimate with everything. And you have a lot of courses such as fine arts, engineering, business, science. There's a whole host of things that I wish I had taken more variety of courses. It's a safe place to experiment. And what's neat about the Alfred culture, it's a maker culture. And for us out in industry, who work in a lot of industries, that maker culture of being hands-on, getting experience, is really unique, because having the hands-on experience differentiates you from people who just get a degree. It's a huge differentiator. Extracurricular activities and internships, study abroad, co-ops, things that today, almost every profession that you're going to go into really looks and requires someone with a broader scope of thinking, broader set of skills, a broader set of disciplines. And so exposing yourself to as many of those things that you can on campus and off campus will help you in the long run. Like, for example, when I went to school, well, let me get back. So when I went to school, the environment, the culture, the world we live in was very different. And I look at what 30 years and what I would recommend to you, given I work with folks, you're a little older than you, all the way up to 60, 70 years old. My teams are from 22 to 70 I have working with me. But for example, we operate in a global economy, so understanding the broader view than just the US-centric view is important. The proliferation of the internet and information available to all of you is staggering. We didn't have the internet where we were able to go look everything up at a moment's notice. And so almost every profession you're going to enter is being disrupted right now because of technology, the internet, and information. And so when you think about how do you broaden your skills and horizons and take advantage of some of the things here at Alfred, you have to think about the world you're entering into. And I would say one of probably the most important things that I hear across almost every company, every industry, and what educators are talking about a lot is how do we build a future workforce of critical thinkers, folks who know how to do problem solving, how to work within teams, They're considered nowadays foundational and table stakes. So that is something about your career here in building the right foundation for the next phases of your life. What are the types of things you're going to do and take advantage of to prepare yourself for the world that really is very different than when I went to college? I studied abroad. I did the study abroad program in the spring of my junior year. I went to London for 6 months. It was awesome. It was the best thing I ever did. I would recommend it highly to everybody. It was life-changing for me. It changed the way I looked at the world, the U.S., and how things happen just in general. It was life-altering. I am really, really glad I went abroad because I look at problems, people, the U.S., everything different than I ever used to. And I would have never gotten that had I not taken advantage of the study at Alfred University. And what I learned from studying abroad and over the last 30 years is that learning from diverse backgrounds and interests that your fellow classmates, staff, and faculty bring with them will give you a much richer set of experiences and richer learning. So what I would recommend is seek out opinions, seek out thoughts, points to really provide you richer outcomes and results to everything that you're doing. So let me give you an example. Diversity in thinking is what we talk about now in most of industry. And you're like, okay, what's diversity in thinking? You hear about a lot of diversity talk, but the most important thing is this diversity in thinking. Well, how do you get diversity in thinking? Well, diversity in thinking is really looking at how are you evaluating and looking at the things around you. What you see in front of you you might believe it's the truth, but it probably isn't because you may not have all the facts. And what really exposing yourself to other people, other cultures, other sexes, other religions, everything, opens your eyes and gives you a much broader understanding of whatever it is you're talking and working on. So that's what's so important about taking advantage of so many different things here at the university, is to get you as many experiences as you can to broaden your horizons, to help you think about being a better and a critical thinker. Surround yourself with people who aren't like you. Everybody always hangs out with people that are just like them because it's comfortable, it's familiar. But the value is hanging out and connecting with and working with people who aren't like you because they bring a different point of view. So for instance, gender. Men and women approach things very differently. I work with, I have teams obviously that are mixed, and women and men approach things very differently. So you want to interact and try to expose yourself as much as possible, obviously, to people from both genders. Age. I mentioned before that I have teams that range from people that are 22 all the way to 70. And I will tell you the ideas and the experiences and the things that come out of the 22, 23-year-olds and the things that come out of the 40-year-olds and the things that come out of the 60-year-olds, when you put them all together, it's magic. It is absolute magic because you're getting diversity in thinking of those who are on the cutting edge of technology and other things, and a new way of thinking, which is where a lot of you sit, folks that are sort of midway through, and then folks who've been there, done that, and have a lot of life lessons and battle scars to kind of say, you don't want to do that. So diversity in age is important to contribute to try to surround yourself with. Race. I'm married, my husband is African American. I have 3 mixed children. I look at the world very differently because when there are various debates from a variety of things around the US, I come at it with a unique point of view because of my husband and my children. Versus had I not, I probably wouldn't have that context or perspective or point of view to think about things in a much broader, deeper way than maybe I would have. Religion, country cultures. My teams and my workforce that I work with are made up of people from all over the country. So Alfred has a great infusion of international students that's continuing to grow. Welcome them, become friends with them. Make them feel part of the family, learn from them. It's a wonderful way to expose your understanding and make you a much more well-rounded student and human in general. Collaboration. The best results and success that anyone will usually have in their life, whether it's a personal thing that you're doing, a professional thing that you're doing, is when you directly collaborate with other people. And I was in the business world and academic world, sports world, wherever, whatever profession you decide to go into, collaborating and working together is the number one thing that everybody is trying to encourage people to do, because you come up with better solutions, better outcomes when you work together and you bring different points of view than when you work independently. And so as you look around at Alfred with the variety of people and courses and extracurricular things that you can do with other people, that's the sort of thing that you want to take advantage of. In fact, my company, about 2 years ago, completely changed its entire incentive structure. So instead of rewarding us individually at how well we were doing individually, they no longer do that. They reward us based upon how well our team is doing. So we're only as good as the people we work with. And they want us all to succeed together or all fail together. And so that collaboration and working together is ingrained in my global company and many global companies and many nations around the world. And that is where the workforce you'll be stepping into postgraduate, are really going to be expecting. You really come up with better solutions, better outcomes, whether it's in medicine, sports, finance, whatever, when you are working across different disciplines and coming together. Another piece that kind of goes along with diversity of thinking is context. I work with a lot of folks, and they know what they know. So I know how to do this particular thing in my profession, but they don't necessarily have the context to apply it. So the question is, how do you gain context without doing something to create the context? So getting experiences, applying and exposing yourself to things. So think about it this way. Academics is one part that teaches you the disciplines, the approaches to how you do certain things, the professional skills. But applying that through programs supported by Apex, co-ops, internships, things of that nature, hands-on application, where you take your book learning and you apply it in the real world is the differentiator nowadays. Folks can learn, but how do you apply your learning and demonstrate you actually know and you have the context around what the words say on the page and how you actually have to perform it? And it's funny because I hire a lot of folks, and a lot of the folks that are coming in that are 22, 23 years old. In fact, I had one last night tell me that working is nothing what they expected. So doing has made all the difference. The actual doing and the application of putting their mind on something to actually produce and apply what they learned in college was completely different than what they learned. You need both. And so the opportunities here at Alfred to take advantage of internships and co-ops and other practical application with your academic learning is critical to make you a more well-rounded individual going out after your post-college career. And I guess most importantly, as I wrap up the talk, I wanted to use this opportunity to also have you think about what are the principles that you want to live by as a citizen of Alfred University. So think about that. You're a citizen right now in the United States, or for those of you who are from abroad, you are, at least while you're in the US, you're a citizen of the United States. You're a citizen of Alfred University, as well as, so what are you going to do to be a good citizen of Alfred University? And how is that going to make you a good citizen for the rest of your life? So some of the principles I've lived by that I would like to share with you that I wish someone had told me when I was sitting in your shoes 34 years ago. And President Zupan's heard some of these, so, but I'll share it with all of you. One of my favorite sayings is run to the problem. So a lot of people will want to go as far away from the problem as possible to not have to deal with it. But problems don't get better with time. So you'll know what I'm talking about down the road. And remember this, run to the problem. Go straight up, hit it head on, and address it. Have the courage to deal with it up front and right away. That's anything, whether it's a difficult class, difficult person, difficult professor, no offense. Build trusting relationships. As I said in the very beginning, the number one thing that nobody told me was probably the most important thing is relationships with the people around you, you work with, work for, collaborate with, et cetera, et cetera. People like to work with people they trust. You can't build trust unless you build a relationship. Assume good intent. I learned this from another organization that taught this to us, and it actually was really compelling. Assume good intent. So what happens in the world as you go forward in the 4 years and beyond, it's not about what's said, it's about what's not said. So be honest with people, assume that people are trying to do good, and give them the benefit of the doubt, because most people are not trying to wake up to do a bad job every day. People don't deliberately wake up and say, I'm going to screw up today. Just that's what I feel like doing. So when you think about that, and you're mad at somebody because they did something and you don't understand why they did it, or this didn't work out your way, step back and assume good intent. Maybe they didn't have all the information they needed. Maybe they made a decision that was poor because they weren't taught the right way, whatever it is, but assume good intent. Another one that we are really mindful of working in the Defense Department, and I love working with the military because it's so honorable, and what they do to protect our country is amazing. And most people don't know that unless you have family in the military. But be a man or woman of your word. It's really important. I've taught my children since they were 3 years old. Be a man of your word. Be a woman of your word. Meaning, integrity and ethical behavior is foundational and core to everything you're going to do. Do what you say and meet your commitments. Be purpose-driven. The hardest things I had to do, I learned the most from. And the reason why I stuck with them, even though I wanted to quit, and it sucked, was because I felt there was purpose in the work. And I've never focused on the money. I've always focused on the work, the purpose, and what the outcomes were going to be. And I would say, this is something that someone said to me not too long ago, when I actually went and talked to people from probably 12 different professions. I said, what would be the one thing that you'd want to tell students that you want them to know? I talked to someone who runs a homicide unit in a police department, all the way to someone who runs a global company, all the way to, you name it, a wide variety of folks, different things. And they said, tell them to take the initiative and raise your hand. Expose yourself to everything, because once you get out of college, it gets harder to take advantage of. Try to say yes before you say no. You think about what people typically do. They'll immediately say no. Start with yes. And people who take the initiative separate themselves and gain access to opportunities that may never come their way had they not raised their hand and taken the initiative. And the one thing they all said to me was, don't wait for someone to ask you to do something. You should be asking, how can I help? Let me reach out and try to take the initiative. That separates everyone. I can tell you that of the 1,000 people that I work with in my company, in the direct group, I can count in a little bucket of those who continually take the initiative and raise their hand. And everyone else sits over here. And these are the ones that get all the cool opportunities and get to take advantage of a lot of different things. And it's not because we don't want to. It's just that those who are taking the initiative and raising their hand usually get the opportunity because they're taking the initiative and they're up at front and center. Another thing is, don't ask someone to work harder than you're willing to do. Anything you ask someone else to do, you ought to be willing and working just as hard as they are, because it's not fair. And this is one that I watched all of you walk in here as I stood in the back. I watched all of your faces as you walked in, and I purposely kept a smile on my face the entire time, because I wanted to see who would make eye contact and who would smile. And so the one thing I would tell people is be kind and smile. And I know it sounds goofy. It sounds really goofy. But people remember how you make them feel. And we have a term in the defense group that I work in. Who would you follow into battle? You know, who would you follow? Someone that makes you feel important and valued, right? And one of the last ones I would close with in this part is, and you got to really think about the words. It took me a while to understand it. Disclosure precludes discovery. And what that means is have the courage to stand up, and if you've screwed up, you've made a mistake, you've done something bad or wrong, stand up and have the courage to go address it before someone comes and addresses it with you. It will pay dividends in the long run. And so the last thing I say to you is be open to how many dots may connect in your life in unexpected ways. And as President Zupan was saying, there was people that have moved in and out of my life and spent sometimes no more than 30 minutes with me, but changed the entire trajectory of my life and why I'm still standing today in the company that I'm at. Otherwise, I would have quit and done something else. And find and develop mentoring relationships. Mentors are those people that give you independent advice, really you can bounce ideas off of, and make those life-changing sorts of things and feedback that you need, because you don't know everything. And there are people who can give you great advice. So to wrap up my bluff and reiterate it, is the range of opportunities and experiences throughout my life came from learning a variety of things, leaning in, as we say, and raising your hand, taking risks, being a woman of my word, listening to people, and building trusting relationships. And it started with my university experience as the first step in my independent career and choices. So I want to leave you with one of my favorite quotes from Theodore Roosevelt, titled "The Man in the Arena," which exemplifies sort of the motto of today's talk of trying things and experimenting and taking advantage of everything that you can. So the quote goes like this: "It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust, sweat, and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming. But who does actually strive to do the deeds? Who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat." Thank you.
Thank you, Patty, for your bluff. Common Ground has been philanthropically underwritten last year by our trustees, going forward this year as a new one-credit course that you'll each start experiencing tomorrow afternoon. Patty St. George has been a pivotal trustee member in the philanthropic support, so we want to thank her not only for her bluff, but for her philanthropic support of the initiative. I'm going to invite Bradley Keogh up for a reprise so that he'll lead you in reciting our student charter.
If you could all turn to page 3 of your handouts, please. And we will be reading this together. Okay. We, the new students of Alfred University, welcome the challenges that lie before us. Okay, we're going to start over, okay? I need to hear you. All right, from the beginning. All right. We, the new students of Alfred University, welcome the challenges that lie before us. We enter this academic community knowing that our education will be enhanced by our experiences both within and outside the classroom, and that our presence and active membership are valued by the university. In keeping with the Alfred University Code of Honor, we will maintain an academic and social environment which is distinguished by honesty, integrity, and respect. Every student is expected to uphold these ideals and confront any student who does not. Keeping these ideals in mind, we, the students, aspire to live, interact, and learn from one another in ways that ensure both personal freedom and community standards. We stand ready to accept the opportunities of learning as set forth by the President, Provost, Deans, Faculty, and Administration of the University. Thank you.
Thank you for joining our 184th class. Different levels of education in the United States stack up relative to the rest of the world in different ways. In relative terms, we do worst at the secondary school level, the level you just left, relative to the rest of the world. We do next worst at the primary level. We're up there at the kindergarten and nursery school level with the best in the world. But where we truly outshine the rest of the world is higher education. And the existing stories why we do that tend to focus on their more private institutions like Alfred University than in other world. And there's more competition between the different universities and colleges than you find elsewhere in the world. And certainly those factors play a role. But I think an important and neglected factor why we excel at higher ed and augurs well for your experience here with Alfred University is highlighted by a book that just came out 2 months ago called Range by David Epstein. The subtitle is Why Generalists Triumph in a Specialized World. And it points to 2 key things why generalists succeed in this. Read the first chapter, read the last chapter, see if it doesn't suck you in at some point over the next year or two. But one of the factors he points to is the importance of trying. We allow students in higher ed in the United States to try and to change. And you may be good at it and not like it, or you may fail and decide, look, I need to try something else. We had a visiting delegation from China about 1.5 years ago. Large school, reputation. But there, if you start in engineering and you find you don't like it, or you fail, you're screwed. It's not possible to switch to liberal arts and sciences, or not possible to switch to art and design or business. So the ability to try things, and both speakers alluded to it, both the importance of the dots you'll collect, the experiences, raising your hand. They're great opportunities here at Alfred University, curricularly and co-curricularly. And then figuring out how to channel when things don't work out, the failure in the arena that Patty talked about, in a productive way. I was a competitive swimmer in high school. I made a lot of successful flip turns, but the flip turn that I remember the most is the one I missed. And our relay team lost because of that miss. So how do you channel that into a learning experience? Buffalo Bills had a place kicker, analogously made a lot of extra points, field goals, but the one he probably remembers the most is the wide right one that cost the team the Super Bowl. So how do you channel when you have those experiences? Israel, on a per capita basis, has more entrepreneurs than any other nation in the world. A study done there, if you failed the first time as an entrepreneur, you're more likely to be successful on your second try than somebody who's never tried to be an entrepreneur before. Had a mentor in life who was a billionaire and then lost it all at the age of 62. Became a better person, became a billionaire again. And when he wrote a book on his life, the title of one of the chapters was Profiting from Failure. Thomas Edison tried over 900 different types of filaments before he found the one that worked. I would say about them, none of them was a failure. Each was a success because I learned what didn't work in terms of a filament. So the importance of trying stuff in a university setting like ours. And then the other key element that Epstein points to in his book is we encourage a more generalist approach, a more integrative approach, especially at Alfred University, where it's not just a liberal arts school with its rich diversity, but a leading engineering school in material science that's world-class, especially in ceramic engineering and glass science. A business school that just got rated in the top 100 by U.S. News and World Report, a top 10 school of art and design. The diverse perspectives that Patty talked about. Artists think differently than engineers do, than business types, than liberal arts and sciences. And the beauty that comes out of that mixing. Last couple of years, I've judged a pumpkin carving competition in Oppenheim. And the team that routinely wins, when it's just the engineers, the pumpkin's very structurally sound, but it doesn't really grab you in terms of the creative look to it. When it's just a team of art and design students, the thing looks incredibly creative, but doesn't always hang together. So the ability to different perspectives and just an act like pumpkin carving applies more broadly. European schools and elsewhere, you have fewer years in college, you more quickly go on to studying medicine or law. It's harder to double major. It's harder to triple major. It's harder to switch. That great diversity when it comes to both developing more tools in your chest to solve really difficult problems, or some interesting problems that occur in the interstices between fields. We have a rich array here, a range for you to benefit from. And then in closing, Apex will give you one of those opportunities to try. So will Common Ground that starts tomorrow. To tackling subjects like who do we put on a pedestal? Nobody's perfect. So who passes the threshold of who should be on a pedestal as a statue? Part of an organization, a family, a firm. You generally like what's going on, but you may not always agree with everything the organization does. What do? Do you quit? Or do you try to change it from within? There was an op-ed writer in the New York Times last year that said, I'm sticking with this presidential administration even though I don't agree with everything, but I think I could do more from the inside than from the outside. So we'll tackle those questions, and you'll either see where your viewpoints change, become stronger, or where there may be some weaknesses that you need to account for that you previously haven't. We're thrilled you decided to make this journey with us. We look forward to your experiencing the range that we have to offer. And most of all, our commitment to you, our promise to you, is to help you realize your promise. Welcome. Would like to introduce our faculty who will sing the alma mater. Please join them. It's in the booklet. Luann Crosby, Dave Toot, Tim Cox, and Kelly Kirtland.
This is a really old song because we have a long history here, and you're all now a part of it.
Nestled away 'neath the Empire State Hills, 'neath the watch care of sentinel pines, where the murmuring song of the brook hums along, and a favoring sun ever shines. In a valley so fair, where the forest trees share dominion o'er hillside and glen, stands the Pioneer College of Western New York. Alfred, we hail thee again. Hail to thee, Alfred, thou guide of our youth. Sweet benign mother, all hail. Sing of thy anthems of duty and truth. May thy clear ringing music ne'er fail.
Reverend DeMott, would you please grace us with your benediction?
And now may your feet remain steady on the paths of learning. May your days here at Alfred University be filled with goodness and friendship and joy. May your wisdom increase, your life be whole, and the road before you paved with peace. Amen.
Hi, everyone. I'm really excited to welcome you here today. This is my first year at Alfred, and so this is your first year. We're all in this together, and I'm really excited. We're going to have a great year. Now, I have the pleasure of welcoming our special guest. Lil Alfred, come on out.